Well, welcome everybody to our online program on addiction and recovery from the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, BC. And we're going to talk on this program about a model for living meaningfully. Now, as many of you know, at the Sunshine Coast Health Center, we practice some good clinical strategies and techniques, but we pay a special attention to this idea of living a personally meaningful life. In fact, many of our clients here, they talk about feeling an emptiness in their life, or a void. In fact, emptiness and void, I think, are the two most common words used to describe their lives. And so the idea here, and in fact the definition that we use at the center of an addiction, is that an addiction is a response to living a life that lacks personal meaning, which basically means living a life that you don't feel filled up, you don't feel really this is the life you would want to lead. Often you don't really feel in control of what's going on in your life. All of these things come together to create a problem with meaningful living. Now, if you look at this idea of meaningful living, and it's getting quite popular nowadays, just Google it and you're going to find any number of hits. And different people have different ideas on what this meaning thing is and how you go about living your life in order to achieve this meaningful life. Now, some people will say, well, if you want to live a life that fills you up, if you want to live the good life, then your goal should be to be happy. I think it's even written in the American Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. And other people say, maybe not. In fact, I'm thinking of a famous psychologist, Alexander Batthyány, who works at the Viktor Frankl Institute in Vienna. And he says, well, there's a problem there. If your goal is to be happy, you're going to fail quite a bit because, frankly, to be human, there's going to be a lot of times in your life when you're not very happy. So Dr. Batthyány never thought that was such a great idea, is to pursue happiness. And some people say, well, to live the good life, you got to be positive, right? You've got to, just put failure out of your mind and bad things out of your mind and just go for it. And other people say, maybe not. Maybe it's a good idea to consider at least before, you make a decision, make some actions, all the bad consequences. Not that you expect them to happen or anything, but to, to reflect on them and see that they might be a possibility. Yeah, so different people have different ideas on what it means to live a life that's personally meaningful. Well, at the center here, much of our program rests on the theory and research that Dr. Paul Wong developed and his meaning theories and meaning practices. And Dr. Wong, who spent a lot of years studying this stuff and is pretty familiar with all the various ideas going around, he's taken them all together and sort of grouped them all in, and he's made this model which he calls PURE, P-U-R-E. And PURE stands for purpose, understanding, responsible action, and evaluation. Okay, so I thought we'd spend some time looking at Dr. Wong's model here. And the first component of this is purpose. And according to Dr. Wong, this is probably the most important thing. So purpose gives a direction. It gives you goals, a place to get to from where you are. Right? And this is pretty important because for example, in recovery, we now know that the idea of keeping busy is not particularly useful in the long term. Yeah, it might be short-term success, but in the long term, it's not really all that good. It's important maybe to be busy, but busy for a purpose, for a reason. There's going to be a direction to it. So lots of the clients here will say, well, I'll volunteer. And then we ask them, well, what are you going to volunteer for? And they say, well, I don't care. I just want to volunteer. Much more useful exercise to volunteer for something that's meaningful to the individual, so that there's a purpose to it. Maybe you want to volunteer for the Cancer Society because a family member passed away from cancer. Yeah, that would be a typical example of having a purpose. So purpose is something that's really a big part of it. And along with purpose, this is where you sort of trust your values as well, because this is one of the key things: is you want to find a purpose that matches, what you truly believe is important. So there are lots of people who do things, but they may not really feel it's important. I'm thinking of, I've had quite a few people over the years who are a little older now, and they tell me, well, when I was young, I was a product of the 60s or early 70s, and we did all these drugs, and I asked them how they got over this, and they just told me, well, we just quit. I said, well, how'd you do that? Oh, well, actually, we didn't really like doing all that stuff. I just joined in because, all my friends were doing it, but I really wasn't into all of that stuff, right? And so there's maybe as these people got a little older, they started paying attention to what was actually important in their lives. Maybe getting married, having kids, having family was more important to them than whatever they went through, as younger people in the 60s. Right? So this is the kind of idea that values and purpose go together, that values can provide you a direction, or that famous saying in the field, if you don't know what to do, do the next right thing. Well, what's the next right thing? Well, it depends on, what's important to you, what your values are. If you believe honesty and integrity are important for you, that they have some meaning to you, then if you don't know what to do, do the next right thing, right? So be honest, have integrity, right? If you find $20 at the ATM and no one's around, should you take the $20 or not? Or, well, follow your values, right? If you believe honesty and integrity is important to you, then put in an envelope, give it to the bank the next day, and just say, look, I found this on the top of the ATM machine. These kinds of things, right? So values can actually promote that. Anyway, that's it for this little video, and we'll be back next time with another video on Dr. Wong's Pure model.